Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2021 Toyota 4Runner, and this is one of the newest trim levels, the Venture Edition. So if you've been shopping for a 4Runner TRD Pro and you simply can't find one, or you think it's too expensive, then look at a Venture Edition, because this 4Runner is equipped with many of the same features that you'll find on a TRD Pro, yet it costs thousands less. So what features do you get inside this Venture Edition, and how does it drive on the roads? We'll keep watching and find out. Now, first, I want to give a big shout out to Continental Toyota for making this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Toyota, then definitely check out Continental Toyota. Their information is on the screen and also in the description of this video. Now, before I go for a drive, first let me tell you about everything that you get with this Venture Edition and how it compares to a TRD Pro. Now, starting with the outside, the first thing you'll notice about this Venture Edition is the giant roof basket on top. It's not the same as the TRD Pro. The TRD Pro has very solid roof rails. This one uses the regular roof rails, but you do get crossbars and you get that giant Yakima basket. Very, very convenient and nice. If you're taking a road trip, you want to strap something on top, it's very convenient to do so. Now, what you also notice about the Venture Edition is that pretty much all the badging and the trim pieces and door handle mirrors are all black, so that's pretty unique to this trim level. And what you'll notice is those black 17-inch TRD wheels. Yes, they are actually TRD wheels. It's not the same design as the TRD Pro wheels, but very, very similar. You also get big, beefy all-terrain tires, and this wheel combination really sets the Venture Edition apart from all other 4Runners. And you can opt for rugged side steps like you see here if you are on a shorter side, or if you want to make it easier for your kids to get in. Now, as for the rest of the outside, pretty much looks like a standard 4Runner, and there's nothing wrong with that. This 4Runner Venture Edition is very chiseled, boxy, big, high off the ground, and it looks like a masculine SUV. It doesn't really look like a crossover. If you look at the front end, it's very bold, very big. It doesn't look like a TRD Pro. The TRD Pro's front end is a little bit different, but it still looks good in my opinion. You have a hood scoop on top, a very big grille opening, very unique bumper design. Of course, those headlights, very big and distinctive. They're projector headlights with auto on off, and also you get fog lights underneath. And same thing with the side profile. You could see that this is a body on frame SUV. It sits high off the ground. You get about 9.6 inches of ground clearance, which is great for going off-road. And you can see with the wheels, with the side steps, and with the roof basket, this Venture Edition looks very rugged. And moving to the back, same thing. You have a black spoiler, shark fin antenna, privacy glass. You can see the chrome piece that you usually find on other 4Runners is blackened out, and very unique taillights. Underneath, you don't get a TRD exhaust, you just get a regular exhaust tip, and this 4Runner Venture Edition can tow up to 5,000 pounds if equipped with a trailer hitch. Now, the back privacy glass does roll down, and as far as I know, this is the only SUV that allows for that. It makes it very easy to put things in and out of. Now, inside the trunk, it is very large, very spacious, and you do have a couple plugs on the right side. Now, if you wanted more cargo room, you could simply fold down the second row seats. However, it's a three-step process. You have to fold down the headrest first, then pull the bottom cushion up, then fold the seat down. So it's 2 steps more than all other SUVs out there, but it does work. And once you do fold the second row down, you can see that there's an enormous amount of cargo room, and this is pretty much identical to a TRD Pro. What's also identical is once you move the second row, take a look at the synthetic leather. It's called Softex, and it is identical to the same material you'll find inside a TRD Pro. You even see the red stitching. Passengers get 2 vents and 2 USB ports. And as for space, I'm 5'10". I have about 2-3 inches of legroom left, and same thing with headroom. Again, the same as a TRD Pro. Now, moving up front, you can see the seats are exactly the same with the red stitching, same thing on the door panels, and you can see the TRD stitched right on the headrest, just like a TRD Pro. The dash design and center console is exactly the same. Now, looking at the steering wheel, It's a truck-based steering wheel, just like the one you find in a Tacoma or Tundra. Nothing wrong with it, leather wrapped. You have a few buttons on left and right for your safety systems and your volume and media. And if you look in the gauge cluster, you have a small little screen besides these analog gauges where you could get the essential stuff like trip computer, fuel economy, safety system settings, etc. Now moving to the infotainment screen, this was changed about a year ago. This is now brand new 8-inch touchscreen. The interface works pretty much the same way as the previous one, and it works okay. It's not the brightest, it's not the most responsive, but it gets the job done. And you do get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Wi-Fi in here, so those are all standard. Now, unlike the TRD Pro, the climate control is manual. You have to adjust the speed and also the temperature and the mode that you want to select. So that is a little bit different. But underneath, you do have another USB port and a 12V outlet. Now, what is the same is the drivetrain. The drivetrain is exactly the same. So in terms of 2-speed transfer case, you still get that inside this Venture trim. You got 4 high, 4 low, or 2 high. So basically, you decide if you want just rear-wheel drive only to maximize fuel economy, or 4-wheel drive to tackle whatever you want. Now, speaking of off-road, with this Venture Edition, you also get multi-terrain select and crawl control, just like a TRD Pro. It's right on top. So with multi-terrain control, you can pretty much tackle whatever you want: sand, mud, rocks, basically anything you could think of. And with crawl control, it's kind of like cruise control for hairier, rocky situations. Let's put it that way. You also get 4Runner's A-Track, which is like a specially tuned traction control for the 4Runner, and you get a rear locking differential just like the TRD Pro. So in case you get stuck, you want to turn it on, you get yourself out of pretty much anywhere. And inside this Venture Edition, you also get home link buttons and a sunroof just like a TRD Pro. Okay, so I'm on the road and I had a straightaway right there, so I want to take advantage and test out the acceleration. Not that I'm surprised by, because I've reviewed many 4Runners in the past, but I gotta say that this engine and transmission combo is fantastic. As I just got done telling you about the 4-wheel drive setup and also the crawl control multi-terrain select, the engine and transmission is also the same as a TRD Pro and the same as all other 4Runners out there. So you still have a tried and true 4-liter V6 that's made it to a 5-speed automatic. Yes, 5-speed. And in total, you're getting 270 horsepower, 278 pound-feet of torque, and fuel economy comes in around 17 miles per gallon combined. Now, this engine and transmission is bulletproof. Just do some research on it. This is one of the most bulletproof engines and transmissions ever made. This is why Toyota refuses to update it. Even on a Tacoma, the engine and transmission was updated, but not on the 4Runner. 4Runner, the diehard 4Runner guys swear by this combination, and we'll see when the next generation of 4Runner comes out, which could be 2022 or 2023. I'm hearing 2023. Let's see what happens then if the drivetrain is going to be changed or Toyota still going to stick with this. It's pretty much bulletproof. Yes, fuel economy isn't the greatest, but acceleration around town, full throttle, is pretty good, pretty lively, just like all modern SUVs these days. When you get inside a 4Runner, you'll realize how tall it is, because this is a true box-on-frame SUV. This isn't a pretender. That 9.6 is the ground clearance. It's pretty high off the ground. So that means when you get inside, you have a very commanding view of the road, which is a good thing. You sit very high up and you can see pretty much anything. You can see well past your hood, and the windows are nice and big everywhere. Blind spot is good and rear visibility good. So commanding view definitely adds to the drive and you get great visibility. Now, as for the ride, it's pretty good too. I will say that the shocks and springs inside this Venture Edition is not as soft as the TRD Pro. So around town, it's not as cloud-like. But that could be a good thing, because sometimes in a TRD Pro, I feel like there's a little bit too much body roll, right? Too much nosedive when you're braking because the suspension is super soft. In this Venture Edition, you don't really get that. I do feel a little bit more rattles and bumps from the road, but overall, isn't too bad. And there is one big advantage to the suspension setup with a Venture Edition versus a TRD Pro, and that is you can opt for the KDSS system, which is like a hydraulic system that controls the sway bars. So when you need to have maximum wheel articulation when you're going off-road, it does help you with that. And when you're on-road, it keeps your 4Runner planted, and that is a system that you can't opt for inside a TRD Pro. Because TRD Pro does have its own unique TRD Fox shocks and its springs, and everything about the suspension in TRD Pro is a little bit more extreme. Now, as I'm coming to a stop, the brakes are good, but the pedal is a little mushy. So when you step on it, it just feels like it gives a little bit too much. But the 4Runner does come to a stop when you expect it to, and there is a little bit less nosedive, especially when you're braking hard on this Venture Edition, because the TRD Pro suspension I mentioned is a little bit softer. So the brakes are okay. It's not bad, but it could be a little better. Now, as for cabin noise, pretty well insulated. I don't hear much from the outside. What I do hear a lot of is road noise. I'm guessing it's from the tire selection, because a little bit more aggressive, all-terrain tires. So I hear a little bit more from the road, but in terms of wind noise, nothing. Cars passing by, so-so. So overall, not bad. It's pretty quiet in here. I mentioned about suspension already. What about steering? Well, steering is mixed. First, I love the steering wheel. It has a really good thickness, the leather feels good, and it's just a big steering wheel that you just love to grab. There's a good weight to it. It doesn't feel artificial, it doesn't feel light, it feels just right. But it isn't very precise. The steering does have a lot of play in the steering wheel, so you could see here, I mean, that's a good amount of play with no input within the 4Runner. So there is play. Again, this versus a TRD Pro even has more play. So this overall could be better, but I think most of you guys driving around will feel like this is more than adequate, especially with the steering wheel. I mean, there's something about the steering wheel that actually just feels really good when you're holding on. Now, as I'm reflecting on this dash, this cabin design, I think it's good. It's kind of simple, basic, but it's also big and brash and bold, just like the outside. It's very masculine. It makes you feel like you're driving a truck and not some crossover SUV. So the screen has been updated. It's a little bit better than before, but you know, you can look at like the knobs in here, like the knobs to control climate control, big, very big knobs, right? Same thing with the volume and scrolling and everything inside, just big and bold. Now, one thing only 4Runner owners know about and complain about is location of the window switches, which is flat on top. At first glance, you think, okay, that's a good location for it. Until you realize when you open the window, rain comes down, it falls right on top of it, or snow falls right on top of it. That's only something that 4Runner owners know about. They have chimed in the comments many times in the past. If I had to choose one car to buy, to hold for the rest of my life, where I had to drive it to the ground, it's for sure a 4Runner. That's how much I like the 4Runner and how much I believe in its reliability. This is one solid truck. It is very solid. I already mentioned about the bulletproof powertrain. People have driven it 300, 400,000 miles with just oil changes. That's it. And everything else about this 4Runner, even though some may argue that it's outdated, it needs to change, it's so old, but it never breaks and it just keeps going and going and going and going, which is why there's such a loyal fan base for the 4Runner and why it continues to sell so well, even though it's been out for pretty much a decade unchanged. So if I was going to select one car to keep for the rest of my life and just not have to worry about it breaking down or spending a ton on maintenance and repairs and stuff, it would definitely be a 4Runner. As for safety system, with this 4Runner Venture Edition, you do get Toyota Safety Sense P, which is the same across all 4Runners. And it gives you the essentials: emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, lane warning. You do get all that, but you don't get all the fanciest things inside the newest Toyotas. And also you do not get blind spot monitoring or rear cross traffic alert, so that is also missing. So next up, let me talk about pricing and also summarize the good and bad to this brand new 4Runner Venture Edition so you could decide if this is the right SUV for you. As for pricing, the 2021 Toyota 4Runner Venture Special Edition starts around $44,720. Compared to the TRD Pro, the Venture Edition is almost $6,000 less. Now, the KDSS system costs an additional $1,750, but if you pair it with other features such as a moonroof and running boards, the total price goes up to around $2,725. To conclude, the 2021 Toyota 4Runner Venture Edition has all the ruggedness of a 4Runner with some TRD magic added on. The exterior is enhanced with the TRD wheels, black trim pieces, and of course the giant roof basket, which isn't just for looks. The interior is spacious, has plenty of cargo room, and the dash design is simple yet rugged. The TRD Softtech material inside is a nice touch, and the crawl control multi-terrain select is among the best in the class. The locking rear differential, along with the ground clearance, completes the off-road worthiness of this SUV. Finally, the bulletproof powertrain provides good grunt, and the drive overall is very comfortable around town. The bad to the 4Runner Venture Edition includes the placement of the window switches, the 3-step process to fold down the second row seats, no auto climate control, and switching between the 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive can be a pain. Overall, I'm giving a brand new 2021 Toyota 4Runner Venture Special Edition a score of 98. To see where it ranks, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, hit the like and subscribe to the channel, and check out these other videos.